Ladies and gentlemen, it says we're live, so therefore we're live. I am here with Jeff Benink. Aha.
Perfect.
I said one of the guest names, everybody. I normally don't. I usually make them say their own names, but we had a little pre-show to make sure that worked. Jeff, you're going to be talking at the Performing Hypnosis Summit. This whole podcast is to advertise that. But really, it's not just about the Performing Hypnosis Summit. It's about us as hypnotists coming together and actually having a bond instead of being a bunch of lone performers that never talk to anybody and get stuck in our own heads and don't progress. So, Jeff, what do you do? Who are you? Where are you from? And let's talk hypnosis.
I'm Jeff. I'm from the Netherlands. I perform in stage hypnosis as well as on the clinical side. I have a clinic in the city of Zwolle in the Netherlands.
Awesome. So, how long have you been doing this for?
I've been a professional for the last 15 years. And
15 years is a long time.
And the last 7 years in stage hypnosis.
You know, I've been doing this for 19 years, and it's weird how the first, 3 or 4 years, you're all gung-ho, and then you just kind of get into it. And then at about year 15, it starts to go, holy potatoes, the world opens up. It's kind of wonderful, or at least that was my journey. So you're going to be talking about show automation specifically, and I want to know about that because it's something that we as hypnotists, we generally bring 12 to 20 people on stage, and there's not really a lot going on for most hypnotists other than sound cues. You're going to talk about show automation. So what's your speech actually going to be about? What are you going to cover in it without giving it all away?
Without giving it all away, I do my shows differently.
Okay.
I call it a show that is mainly done in the US, like a chair show. We got a row of chairs, we do bit, and the show ends.
Okay.
I do an immersive show here in Europe where we have sound, light, video. It's like a Cinderella story. I have a few volunteers, but there's a story going on throughout the show. And for that show, I use show automation. I'm a QLab programmer. So I use a piece of software so I can trigger my sound, my light, and my video cues. It's hard. I'm a sound engineer by trade, worked in theater and everything. And I found when somebody else engineers your show, especially with a hip show, they're always offbeat with cues because we use the volunteers as the trigger for the next part. It's not scheduled, it's not timed. It is what the volunteer does makes our show work or not.
Yeah. You know, it's weird, but there's this old saying, it's hard to herd cats. And having volunteers on stage is kind of the same thing. And trying to mesh your cues into it is extremely hard to do it in a good way unless you have a sound person beside you or you're using a remote of some kind. What type of programming are you looking at doing here as far as, I don't know what your actual show is, so it's hard to tell you, but I'm going to use my show as an example. I have a skit where they're on the beach. Everybody does the hot and cold skit in where I'm at. So when you're looking at your lighting cues for something like that, how would you do it? Or how would you go about automating it in a way that doesn't give your whole presentation away and doesn't bore everybody? Because cues are a hard thing to do sometimes.
Cues are the hard thing. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm trying to let you think differently.
Okay.
And what I mean with it, we all do bright light shows, or we have one color on stage and we're going to the beach. But how does the beach look? Make a palette. The beach is yellow, the sand is yellow, the sea is blue, and the sky is white or light blue. You can make those accents with lights. Yeah. If you say, it's getting cloudy, the sun is going away, make sure your lights go down a little bit. It immerses your volunteers, but your audience as well. If you don't immerse your audience, they are looking at people in chairs that are acting out something. And if they don't hear you correctly, they're thinking, what the heck is happening? We can build it so much bigger.
So I've actually thought about this for years. My good friend Richard Cole and me talk about this quite often. One of the things I did in my show is I added a projector to the projectors that you need like 3 or 4 feet. And when I do the beach skit, I actually have a beach come up in the background. But
That's what I do. Let me turn this light a little bit so it isn't.
So
LEDs.
knowing that, and that it gives the audience a more immersive experience, why do you think hypnotists haven't done this in the past? Because it's accessible. It's not expensive to buy these things anymore.
No, and the crazy thing is, a lot of hypnotists only carry a USB drive and do their show.
Yeah.
The venue has chairs, the venue has a sound system, and that's how they do their show. But if you bring a little bit, if you only have 8 lights, 4 on each side, you put 2 against the wall behind you and 2 on you and the volunteers, if you use white floodlights.
Yeah.
The whole experience is different. If you look at, I'm just in my living room right now, but I have a blue light that's annoying right now because it's changing color as I move, and it shouldn't be. And I got a purple light. It looks more fancy than bright light behind me or daylight. It's dark in the Netherlands right now, so daylight is gone.
So
it is the way people experience your show. You can do it budget friendly. And that is what I want to talk about. We can up our game as a professional entertainer by putting a little bit extra in engineering your show.
Okay. So let's talk QLabs. I haven't used QLabs in about 8 years. It was back then. Yeah, 8 years ago, it was like working with trying to decrypt ancient hieroglyphics for me. I couldn't figure it out. And nowadays, not everybody uses QLabs. Is there other ways to do this that may not be automated, that you go over and you press a button and it switches your cue? Or
there are loads of different kind of software that can do it. What I love about QLab is the same thing that I hate about it. It takes time to put a show together, but I can determine by the millisecond what is happening.
Okay.
I can start one cue, do my bit, and my show rolls on automatically for as long as I want one cue to last. So I can program it different ways. When I do the hot and cold bit, I have wavy palms behind me because we're on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
If I do a bar show, I got wavy palms and girls in bikinis.
Okay.
When I'm doing a casino show that's got to be squeaky clean, I just got the beach and some waves. With QLab, I can determine which video and audio cues I want to use for certain bits. I can type in the name of the venue that I do regularly and load the preset for that venue, and it plays the sounds. I do the same bits, but I have different video, different sound, different feel, different sound effects that are good for that venue.
Okay.
I even did a show for a venue that has a different kind of beer, and they have their own song. So when I do the bit that they get drunk, it's not cocktails like it's always is. The tune of that brand of beer is playing, and it starts the happy hour. So you can incorporate so much more. And when you're using video, you can upsell your venue by playing commercials in front of during your skits.
That's something that I think most because I have the short throw projector, oftentimes it's not just about cueing the show itself. I actually cue myself. For instance, it sounds weird, but in my set list for certain venues, I have grab a beer break, literally telling people to go get a beer because I'll forget it during the show and it's next on my playlist and I just whack it in. It's beer time, everybody, head for the bar.
You're not
And
the only one doing it.
and because of that, you get booked more often because you're actually serving the client. It's not, you may not be serving the audience perfectly at that point, but our job, if we work in a bar, our job as an entertainer isn't necessarily the entertainment. It's to actually get people to buy beer. That's the whole point of us being there, is to sell beer or whiskey or whatever else.
It
So,
is making them a profit.
yeah,
That's why they want us.
yeah, and a
We
lot of
bring them
entertainers
in, and they gotta let them stay. That's the name of the game. But if you're using video and you're working with them to play a video clip of something they're selling, or you're doing a bit, something that's big in Europe is Flugel. It's a little drink. You put the cap on your nose and you chuck it at once. It's like a shot.
Okay.
There's a crazy sound with a drink. There's one venue that after every second skit, that sound is going to be. And the one that does it first gets a T-shirt.
Huh. So
it is, you can put so many things in there. And working with show automation, you can program. It doesn't matter if you use Winamp or whatever. You can make a software script that loads a different show list at a different venue. So you don't have to think about, oh, I can't say this here because I always say it when this song is playing. No, it's another song for this venue. And by incorporating sound, light, and video or whatever, I don't use it every time. The nice thing about QLab is that they have another program, that's Go Button, that you can use for free for one show, is that my show runs on QLab without video and light cues. And it's the same.
Huh.
So I never have to think about it from, hey, I'm running something else. No, the same show is running. There are only no lights and video playing. But my show is exactly the same. And if I make a change on one machine, I back up the show. It's called a bundle. And I send it to my Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever, or my own server. It's always in 3 places.
And it's there.
Wherever I am, I load that show.
So this begs the question, because you work in theaters and stuff as well. Often you would have a sound tech up doing stuff, right? Are they running your cues, or are you doing it by remote?
I have a remote on my microphone. I'm running everything myself. The only thing they do is keep my levels in check, because I don't know how loud it is in the venue.
That makes sense.
And if you do a bar or a small show, that doesn't matter. But if you have a theater of 800 people with different sound zones, it's important that everybody hears what you're saying. So I give them 2 lines out, and that's the nice thing with QLab. If you have a sound interface that has more outputs, you can give them separate outputs for music, sound effects, and vocals. So I mostly give them 4 or 5 outputs so they can mix the difference between the background music, the sound cues, and the sound effects. I use the voice of God in one of my shows, and I let them place one speaker in the middle above the audience. There's mostly a bridge for people to hang lights on. I let them put one speaker there, and it's the voice of God. It's got an echo on it, and it says, blah, 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 then this happened, and now we're here. So they know where we are in the show. And it's a simple thing, but it makes it a theatrical show.
So this might sound harsh, but as hypnotists, a lot of our trainers have said the show is good enough. A lot of in the past is, you get 20 people on stage, that's good enough to be a theatrical performance. If it was staged and spaced out properly and blocked and all the rest of it, that's good enough. The truth is, I think we've been giving ourselves a big disservice by not having the lights, by not having sound when we come to certain venues. For instance, I work a lot of like service clubs, and they've got sound from 1946, and you can tell it's from 1946. What you're talking about is being more produced, being more professional, and in turn, serving our customers better, but also giving us as hypnotists a way better perception to the public than just the guy that shows up, has a cigarette out the back, does stupid things when they're there, and just looks bad. I really think that your talk is about changing the perception of our entire industry as hypnotists, not just
that is the one thing that I'm passionate about. If we do only one thing, let's make it easy. We skip the video because that's dangerous for people. Yep. Because they don't know how it works. And I will explain that's very easy. But
it's pretty easy.
by 8 lights on a stand. One on the left of your stage, one of the right. And when you make it cold, you turn the blue lights on. And when you make it hot, you do yellow and red. Not full, but a little. It looks like fire on your stage. Are people thinking, hey, there's something happening? Or are they just sitting under indecent light on a chair in a gym? Hypnotists are storytellers. But if somebody can't visualize what we're saying, and somebody in the audience that pays money to see us doesn't get from it's getting hotter, there's thunder rolling, and it's bright white light, we're missing out.
We're not creating that immersive experience.
No. And it's so easy. I developed a show for another hypnotist. It's a young kid here in the Netherlands. His budget was €400, 400 euro.
Yeah.
And I said, don't spend it on anything. Buy a couple of lights and a USB dongle for your laptop to trigger lights.
Mm-hmm.
And he does an amazing show with the few skits he does. But it's immersive.
Yeah. I find that that's something that we miss out on because a lot of guys have been doing it so long. It's the same show, right? And they never upgrade. Huh.
If you look at a major part in our industry, they're all doing the same skits. That's why I started to do a theatrical show that's not about bits. Bits are incorporated in the scene that is playing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a story going on instead of, hey, you're cold, you're hot, or you forgot your name. It is, I don't want to play down on my colleagues, but there is a part of our community that is lazy with skit development. And especially show development. There are people that go all out. They come in a Ford Model A as background, like Alan Sands does. There are people there, like yourself, that are using a projector for video. We all can, if we all take one step further, we get more bookings.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I say, hey, I'm a hypnotist, I want to perform. Oh, you need a row of chairs and a sound system? No, I come with a trailer full of equipment.
Yeah.
If I do my big theatrical show. And it doesn't have to be expensive at this point to run a show. Software like QLab is expensive. It's $1,200. Mm-hmm. But QLab does something awesome. You can rent it by day. So if I'm doing a new show, I rent the software for a day. Mm-hmm. I program 1 day long, so my show is finished. Next day, I can't use the complete software. I can only use the audio cues. And if I have a show, I log in, I pay my $12 for rent, and I have a fully working system. And you know what is nice? That $12 goes into your account for the amount to buy the software. So you're leasing it to own.
So I'm going to be real honest here. Some guys are doing $150 shows.
Yeah.
This is going to sound mean, everybody. It's not meant to be mean. But what Jeff just said about the actual show itself and not upgrading and making it better and not taking the time to put into the show, those same hypnotists do the same thing with their business. and they never upgrade their business. And that's where there's a major disconnect. Sorry for going into teaching mode, Jeff. I apologize, but that's true. There's a major disconnect. Yeah, and it's not bad mouthing the industry. What it is a personal choice. If you want to book a $300 show until you're dead, you can do it till you're dead. But I'd much rather work for $3,000 than 300. It's just a way better lifestyle. It's impossible to be. Well, I can't say it's impossible to be a full timer at $300 because you'll be a full timer at $300, but that's all you're going to be doing is show after show after show, and you'll go through a divorce and all the rest of it. You'll lose your life doing that shit. So,
and you know, if you're doing a $150 show, put $50 aside for a great sound system. I bought this Bose S1. I'm an international performer. I take my Bose everywhere on the plane because it's hand luggage.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you know, a lot of people are worried about my sound system is about $3,000. That's what I carry with me. It's a Behringer system. I've had it for almost 10 years now, but it cost me $3,000. Now, did I have that $3,000 to buy that sound system? No, absolutely not. There's a company called Long & McQuaid in Canada, and it cost me $130 a month. Well, if I couldn't come up with $130 a month to invest into my business for the next 10 years, that's ridiculous not to make that investment. And I'm sure it's the same in the Netherlands. There's probably a rental center of some kind there. And in the US, there's Guitar Center. And to rent the S1, I checked it out about 4 months ago in Canada. Long McQuaid will rent you a Bose S1 for $71 a month. And that's rental for a month. That's, if you can't make $71 doing shows in a month, there's a problem going on.
Let's be honest. If you do 3 shows, you can buy a sound system nowadays.
Yeah.
And the Bose S1 is just, it works remarkably good. I'm a sound engineer. I know sound. It was my living for years. I was carrying big loudspeakers every time. And when I was doing shows in the US, I was renting everywhere because I couldn't fly with it. And I got angry. It was too heavy, too bad of quality, or it was from Guitar Center and it looked like it was in a hazard.
Yeah.
Or a hazard for the audience. There are companies like Best Buy in the US that have open boxes that are speakers that are shown to the public, not being on a shelf, and they give you $200 or $300 off.
Mm-hmm. So
instead of $700, I paid $5.
Yeah.
If you can't invest that much for yourself, then rent it a couple of times and then buy it. If you invest in sound and a few lights, you're better than most of them in production.
Yeah. And that's not just for hypnosis shows either. That's magic shows need it. Pro wrestling events need it. Actually, let's talk about one of the premier groups that does this really, really well. Pro wrestling, if you watch it on TV, their production and lighting, I'm not saying a hypnosis show should be like that, by the way. It shouldn't be all craziness. But if you look at it, what they're doing in immersing the audience with the entrances, and even sometimes during the matches, there's lighting and stuff like that. You can see a distinct difference between the WWE, who is the gold star, and then some guy in a recplex, right? This distinguishes you. It really does, changing your production value. Go ahead.
If you look at a lot of young guys want to have the big light show, moving lights and everything. In the time that I started, I worked for the big rental company that did European and world tours for sound and light. One of those lights was 3,500. It was a cheap one, 3,500 euro. Nowadays, you buy them for 160. They're not the best, but they move, they got lights.
Yeah.
If you buy 4 of those over the next year and you control them and you have 8 lights from the side, you have a big production in our field.
Yeah.
What makes the difference between a good show and an awesome show is the immersiveness of people getting really into it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be expensive. I
agree.
started out with nothing. Only
We
thing
all
I
did.
always carry for my own is a microphone. If your sound is shit, your show is shit.
So what are you carrying for a mic? Are you doing the old Shure system? Mine's not in the room today.
Yeah.
but
I
you,
got a Shure system and I got a extra 58 with the Bose connector on it that it works with the S1 Pro.
nice. There's lots of different good mics out there. I ran a Sennheiser for years and I loved that microphone and I wish they still made it. I used it for almost 15 years before it died. And I actually pulled it apart and soldered the inside of it at one point. So um, I want to talk about the shows that you're actually doing. When you go to a fair, one of the pictures on your website is a fair, and I don't see any lights in that. Is that because it's an outdoor event, or is it just simply
It's an
it didn't
outdoor
fit?
and midsummer daylight event.
So that's somewhere where you wouldn't be able to use this style of system, right? Or
No,
or the lighting
you could, but
specifically.
you had to have a dark tent to pull it off.
Okay, so what would you say? Okay, I'm the business guy. I prefer the marketing side of this. So would you say you get higher rates because you bring this stuff with you?
I sell my show a standard rate.
Okay.
And when I'm talking to somebody, I let them see pictures like the one of the fair you were talking about. This is how the show can be. Or I show them the picture with sound and video in the background. And of course, there's a price difference.
That's awesome. So
But when they ask what the price difference is, the price difference is higher than the normal show.
now
You pay for the lights, you pay for the video, but when they take it together, there's a little difference.
So on that, this begs a question. Because you've purchased this stuff, usually they would have to go to a rental company. Let's say a big event like a fair, right? You've got 2,500 people out in the audience, and they've brought sound in, they've brought in lights for their headline band later in the day, whatever it is. And you say to them, well, I'm not necessarily on the grandstand, I'm on a stage somewhere else, and you're going to need to rent equipment to be able to produce any show, but I have that available. And it's only so much more compared to somebody who would have to rent that. Is your price much lower than that because you own your own equipment, or is it on par for that production cost?
It depends. Let me be honest. If I bring my own equipment, they can use everything except my microphone.
Okay.
And if I do a big fair, I'll give them an option. You want me as an artist, or you want me to do the production?
Okay.
I'll make sure there's sound, light. I'm maybe even renting it from the same company the headliner is, but I make sure there's staff that runs it. And then you can make a really big buck because you know what the prices are. And and a lot of times when you work with a couple of sound companies, and we as hypnotists can use local DJs, they got great equipment and they're cheap. When you have a local DJ in a place where you have a show, call them up, send pictures of what you have. Can you run a show? My cues are like this. Can you make the lights do this? Yes. How much is it? $150, you're hired.
Yeah.
They set it up for you. You do the sound check with them. You're done.
The thing about working with local DJs, I find, is that they, like many hypnotists, aren't necessarily booked very often. That might sound mean, but it's the truth. They're always looking for bookings. They're always looking for more business. And you can use them in your network as well to add on to things like Christmas parties. Yeah. Yeah. Richard, he talked about the syndicate last year. That was his speech, right? Did you listen to that at all?
No,
okay.
I missed it.
He talked about getting a group of 5 or 6 other entertainers because you're not getting the booking every year. So you might as well have a friend that's a magician. You might as well have a friend that's a juggler. You might as well have a friend that is whatever. And you keep the client and you just pass it along year to year to year until it's time for the hypnotist again.
That is how agencies do it.
Yes, and I work with a lot of entertainers, and you know what? I'm not even taking an agency fee when I do it. I'm just passing the lead along, the lead along, the lead along, because eventually it's going to come back to me. That $300 doesn't matter. I want to make sure they're kept at a high price with a high value entertainer that actually serves them, instead of letting them go off half cocked and book Bozo the Clown, who does stupid things, and then they never have entertainment
words
again.
about Bozo the Clown. No. Sorry,
But
Mike.
who? What? Sorry, who? Do you know
That's the
Bozo?
nickname for Michael Brody now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That works. Jeff, before we close this out, I want to thank you. I want to honor you for giving me your time. And this was really to promote your talk at PHS. PHS is coming up in 10 days.
Yeah, it's gonna be quick.
10 days. Holy moly.
And it's gonna be awesome.
It is. What day are you flying in, by the way, so people can chat with you?
on Thursday.
Okay.
And if somebody wants to know anything, I'm an open book. Just hit me up.
Okay. Your website is attached to the link down below. I think it's Jeff Benink or Ben. I completely lost your last name.
You were good. JeffBenink.com.
Benink. Whatever. It works. Jeff.
It is what is down there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere down there, possibly up there, maybe over there. Who knows? But visit Jeff's site, see what he's actually doing on the production side of this, a little bit in the videos that he has on there. And Hypnotists, it's time to up our game. We don't need to look like Taylor Swift, but we can damn sure look like at least a low-level fair in the middle of the country with our lighting. It's not that hard. Thank you, Jeff. I really want to say I honor you for being here. Is there anything you want to leave our guests with, or our viewers with, before we end off?
The ones that are coming to Vegas, I'm looking forward to see you. The ones that are going to be online, sorry you miss it, because we're doing awesome things offline. Yeah. But especially to everybody watching, and to you, Jesse, thank you so much. And if somebody has a question, just reach out to me.
There was a big... I'm going to talk about reaching out real quick before I end off. There used to be this barrier where the pros didn't want to talk to somebody who was just starting out. I'm going to tell you right now, if you message me, I will talk back to you. I will talk to you about the industry, because it's our job to protect the bloody industry. And the only way we do that is by us mentoring. That's the only way.
Let me tell you one thing. In halfway 2015, I came to the US for the first time. There was a stage hypnosis summit in Vegas. And I wrote an email. I'm a Dutch hypnotist. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing shows and things are not working. Can somebody help me? Then I got an invite from Michael the Shellot to come to that conference. It was such a warm bath at that conference that I'm still involved in stage hypnosis in America and hypnosis at all. And I can say I have more friends in hypnosis and stage hypnosis in the USA and Canada that are willing to help, check on you if you're not doing well. Even during COVID lockdown, we stayed in touch. If somebody is not doing well, we call each other.
You know,
it is the one thing in one profession, that is the hypnosis profession. We keep each other in check. If you're not doing well, if you have questions, don't bother. You can call any one of us or send an email, and we will respond whenever we have time.
Yeah. You know, you talk about COVID. I went through a divorce. Life happened during COVID to me. I went through a divorce, and Richard Cole talked to me almost every single day, because part of life is life, right? Shit happens, but he's a large part of the reason that I'm alive today to do this. So it sounds weird, but we do actually care about each other. And part of that caring is about caring about the industry as well, because we haven't seen rates raise in certain parts of our industry since the 80s. For instance, grads. There's still guys out there doing grads for $400 to $800. And I question, what the fuck are you doing? Sorry for swearing, Jeff. And you look at corporate.
I'm there with you.
You look at corporate shows, and there's guys doing corporate shows for $150 to $30,000. So what is the market average there? And I'm going to tell you, it's not $400.
You know, it is. There are two things going on. We have people starting out,
yes,
that just want to have the work. We have people doing it a couple of years that are tired of doing marketing. They say, I come for $400. You have people that are working, like Richard, like yourself, like so many others, that need to earn a living.
Yes.
And then you have guys that do 2 shows a year. They ask $3,000, $4,000, and boom.
Yep.
Is every one of my shows good? No. I bomb too.
Yep.
But when I sell a show, I do everything I can to make it a special show. The one thing, if you're doing high school shows, the first thing you got to do when you come in, find your promoter or the booker or the director of the school. Take them apart and please tell me, did something happen? Did somebody play suicide? Was there a shooting? Was there a horrible accident, car accident? Because when somebody is killed in a car 2 weeks before your show and you're doing the car and cop routine, your show is over. Yeah. That little bit of asking questions, that little bit of research when you do a company. Here in the Netherlands, we have the Bible Belt, some parts of the US too. I can't say anything adult-like in those parts. Now, is the Netherlands less strict on adultness like the US? But I got to rebuild my show for those areas. When I do a school show, it's squeaky clean. I don't do dirty shows. Why? Because when I do one dirty show, it ends up in the internet because everybody's sitting with his phone.
Yes.
I lose 80% of my business because they look you up before you arrive.
Yeah. That brings up an important point. And it's not just the show that needs to be squeaky clean. You have to go through the skits and make sure that there is no availability to not make it squeaky clean. I'll give an example. I used to do You're Being Pulled Over by the Police. And I did this at a school. And I was going to each person, you're going to make up a lie. And I went to each person. And I come to a girl, and she's making up the lie. And she's supposed to lie. But she says, will a blowjob get me out of this? And this is at a high school in the middle of the afternoon. That skit was immediately struck from my repertoire. And that's not just for school shows. That was for all the shows. Now, is this a one-time thing? Is this a one-time incident that probably never happened again? Who knows? But I know that school was paying me $2,000, and I know I haven't ever been booked again, and it was 6 years ago. I should have had $14,000 more in my bank account because of the repeat bookings. And it was my failure as an entertainer. And most entertainers, most hypnotists, most magicians cannot admit that they have failed. No. Because it hurts our little hearts. My baby isn't perfect. Well, guess what?
We have a rule, and it's you gotta do a risk in assessment of your show. And because I'm working for governments too, I do a risk assessment on all my skits. What is dangerous? What could happen with language? Like you said,
yeah.
Make it funny and clean. Give your suggestion in a way that they can make it bad.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying bad words to the police. How can you say it in funny language?
Yeah.
Without swearing. You got to rethink everything, and it takes a time to rewrite everything.
Yeah.
But if you start doing it, you will be awesome at it in the end.
It's funny. We went 10 minutes over the time we were supposed to have, so I do apologize.
No
it's
problem.
funny.
I got time.
The best parts of these interviews are always at the end because you actually get over the worry that you don't know the person on the other end, and you get to the real weeds of the business, which is awesome. Jeff, I do want to thank you for being here. I'm going to see you in Vegas. I expect at least a handshake. If you don't hug me, I'm okay with that. I'm a hugger, though. But
I am too, so be warned.
okay. So I'll see you there. If somebody else doesn't buy you a drink, let me know. Everybody, the Performing Hypnosis Summit is happening in just 10 days away. So if you have the chance to go to Vegas to attend, come learn how to do stage hypnosis with us. Whether you're a magician, a mentalist, a stage hypnotist, heck, whatever you perform, come check it out, because there's
Even
business
if you're not a
there.
performer at all.
Yeah.
Even if you're a dancer, you can learn so much of all the people that are around there. We talk about sound, we talk about show design, we talk about performance art, the way that you behave on stage, your character, insurance. It's so much more than just stage hypnosis.
There will be at least one talk that the guy talks about brushing your teeth. That's how in depth we go. Because that's important. I'm that guy, by the way. Jeff, thank you for being part of this. I'm going to end the stream. I'll keep you on for 2 minutes afterwards. Everybody who's watching, thank you so much. Go check out Jeff's website. It's in the description. And check out the Performing Hypnosis.